Hello. I'm going to read another story from my book, which is called Good Heavens, which is available on Amazon. And this story, Good Heavens, is a collection of stories about life in heaven. Not necessarily everyone's heaven, but a good enough heaven for those who think God has a sense of humour. Anyone with a deeply held religious view which precludes any idea that God has a sense of humour, please do not watch this video. Go and kneel down and pray for the rest of us instead. Thank you. This is the story. It's called Wish You Were Here. Gabriel sprinted round the corner, bounced off the door frame and into Michael's apartment, breathing heavily. Raphael had beaten him by 2 seconds. He waved a hand vaguely in the air. "Yo, Rafe, Mikey, what's going down, dudes?" Raphael shook his head. Michael was wearing one of his worried looks. He waved towards the Chesterfield. "Take a pew, lads. Seems as though we've got trouble again." Raphael gathered his robes, tucked his wings up behind him and sat down. "What kind of trouble, Mike?" Gabriel prompted himself down beside Raphael. "Yeah, Mikey, what's the action?" Michael shuffled uncomfortably. "It's him. He's got one of his ideas again. He wants to take a holiday, one of those short break things. He's been watching telly again, seeing that windsurfing and parascending stuff on Mallorca, and now he wants to go." Gabriel grinned. "Well, Mike, my man, what's so bad about the dude having a good time? At least he won't be swinging with the chicks like the Greek lot used to. Surfing's cool. Mallorca ain't the hip place right now, but he ain't gonna chill out on grass or anything really wicked. He's a smart guy. He'll be ace down there. Don't go getting uptight, Mikey. It'll be smooth." "It's not what he gets up to down there," said Michael. "It's the fact that he'll be missing up here. We've got the job of finding a substitute." Raphael shook his head. "A stand-in? For God? We've got to find a stand-in for God. I take it he's not keen to have Zeus or Jupiter or that Norse fella Odin in it. I bet we have to find someone less forceful, right, Mike?" Michael nodded. "That's right, Rafe. We've only got about 3 days to do it. Any ideas would be most welcome. Gabe?" "Yeah, Mike. Like we'll just have to advertise it, man. List the necessaries, experience, references, you know, man, what it takes to be a cool creator. What's the payoff, terms and conditions, that sort of thing." Raphael smiled. "I'll run up a poster this afternoon on the word processor and stick it on the wall in the ex-Supreme Beings Club. Surely we'll get a few applying. Come on, let's get a list of qualifications drawn up." Raphael's advert was a roaring success. 141 applications were in by supper time, and another 72 in the Morning Post. Michael surveyed the heap of envelopes despondently. "Well, lads, the only way we'll get through this lot is to split them 3 ways, sort out the hopeless cases and drop a shortlist. If we work really hard at it, we could be through by next week. There's 71 each. Come on, let's get cracking." Gabriel held up his hand. "Hey man, I've got an idea. Let's run a cool contest. The dude who gets the winner gets to swing out with himself in Mallorca. He'll need a main man with him down there. Could be funky. All them laid-back babes on the topless beaches. San Miguel and Bacardi chasers round the pool, and a joint or 2 on the balcony. Cool, eh, man?" Raphael smiled. "I don't think it'll be quite like that, Gabe, but the parascending sounds interesting. I'm game for a go." "Come on, Mike, divvy up the hopefuls. If we come up with a couple each, then let him pick from the 6. We can ask him to interview them. That way we don't cop for all the blame if it turns to worms." Michael dealt out the application forms, and the 3 archangels set to work. Soon there were heaps of papers all round. Slowly the piles diminished until there were just 2 each. Letters were written asking the candidates to attend for interview, and a few checks made on parentage and other qualifications. The following day, God's throne room was filled with powers, dominions, angels, seraphim, and cherubim, all trying to get the best view as the candidates were introduced. God had decided to hold the interviews in public, so that fair play was seen to be done. As they all had been deities of one sort or another, he had announced that each candidate was to be asked the same question, and the winner would be the one giving the best answer. The archangel who had shortlisted each applicant was to announce him or her, while the others were entertained in a soundproof room. The cherubim were passing round the nectar bottles, and excitement grew as Raphael stepped forward to announce the first candidate. Let Etna step forward. He paused as a strong, butch-looking woman stepped up, smiling at the crowd. Etna, goddess of volcanoes, earthquakes, and short haircuts. Formerly residing in Italy, retired in 1945, carves pumice stone as a hobby. God leaned forward to deliver the question. If you were me, what would you change on earth? Etna paused for a second. Well, Lord, it's about time that mountain of mine had an eruption. I could quite enjoy doing some sculpture with a bigger piece of rock, like Sicily, for instance. Thank you, said God. Next. Gabriel stood up. Bacchus, get your body online, man. It's time for your showdown, Bacchus. Bacchus, he announced. God is spacing out and all things hip. Brews up a mean ale and grows the best grass this side of Hades. Also provides other delights of the flesh at a massage parlour just the other side of Cloud 9. When God asked the question, Bacchus smiled. I'd warm the place up a bit. It would make the grapes grow bigger and sweeter, and besides, it's more comfortable at the orgies when it's warm. Thanks, said God. Who's next? Michael stepped forward. The next candidate is Mars, god of war and chocolate. Keeps goats in the Elysian fields and provides cheese for the seraphim wine and cheese parties. Mars was a huge, red-faced deity, carrying a spear and an Easter egg. I would turn Lancashire into a theme park, and we could have paintball contests with thousands on each side, a firing range for missiles in Blackpool Tower, and a new Smarties factory in Preston. Said God. Raphael pointed to the ceiling where a falcon was spiralling down. Horus, Egyptian god of flying, sun dancing, and eating small defenseless mammals. Horus landed gracefully and took the form of a young man in a short frock. He bowed deeply and smiled at the question. That's simple. I'd build pyramids and runways in every city, make hang gliding a compulsory subject in junior schools, and widen the Suez Canal. Oh, said God. Michael's final candidate was Odin's son, Balder, the god of light, smorgasbord, and ski jumping. He considered for a while before answering the question. Firstly, I must say, Lord, the world is a pretty sound piece of engineering. The axles have given no bother since they were put in, and the cooling system seems to work fairly well. However, the sprinklers sometimes seem a bit powerful, and the lighting doesn't seem to work properly. Back home in Norway, the nights get awfully long in the winter, and I found it a bit hard to get to sleep in the summer with all that midnight sun. A bit of levelling out wouldn't come amiss. I see, said God. Gabriel held up a hand for silence. The final candidate is Agnes, goddess of the North Yorkshire Moors, with special responsibility for Rosedale, Castleton, Danbydale, and Battersby. If I can find the last page, I'll give you the rest. Agnes was a little old lady in a grey woolen cloak, carrying a shepherd's crook and a sprig of heather. She curtsied, and with outstretched arm presented the heather. As God reached down for it, a tiny blue butterfly flew out and landed on the back of his hand. Wow, said Raphael, that's a good start. The question was asked, and Agnes thought for a moment. "Well, Lord," she said quietly, "there is something I'd like to change. In Danby Dale there lives a black-faced ewe with 2 of the finest lambs you ever saw. Every morning they all walk up the ridge to feed on the sweet heather and the moor. Danby Dale is a beautiful valley, with a little church on the eastern slope. Every morning the ewe sees the church and reminds her lambs to say their prayers. In the evening they walk down the ridge to shelter for the night, because it gets chilly on the moor. Now the ewe has a crumpled horn that comes down past her right eye, so she can't see the little church on her way down. That's what I'd change. If she could see better, there'd be 2 more of your lambs saying their prayers every night." Gabriel nudged Michael. "Hey, Mikey, my man, I think I'll be needing a lend of your suitcase." Hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you.